2025 Tire Rack One Lap of America, presented by Grassroots Motorsports Magazine with your media coverage this week, brought to you by HP Tuners. We are at Quaker City Motorsports Park in Salem, Ohio, and we're getting to do something we have not done since 2019, and that is drag racing. So today the format is going to be, we're getting ready to start bringing cars up. Right now they're all in the staging lanes. So what we're going to do is they're going to do one pass, and that's going to be the low ET passes. And once they do that, when they get to the end of the drag strip, they're going to pick up a slip that's going to show their reaction time, their 60-foot time, their 1,000-foot time, and also their complete ET and speed. So when they come back, they're going to do what's known as a dial-in. They're going to pick the time that they think that their car can run every pass. If when they go back out and we start the brackets, if they run right on the number or right below the number, that's really good. Or I'm sorry, right above the number, that's really good. If they run below the number, that's called a breakout, and they are eliminated from competition. So we're probably going to end up having about 5 rounds of bracket drags, and it's going to go pretty quick. Everybody will come up. If they want to do a burnout, they can do a quick burnout, and then they will back the car up into the staging beams, and you can see the tree right there. So when they come into the staging beams, they're going to see one set of yellow lights illuminate, and then they're going to inch forward a little bit more to the next set of beams. And when they light up that second, they're ready to go. So they're going to watch the tree. There's going to be 3 yellow lights, and then it's going to give them the green, and they are free to go. And they run to the end of the track. And if they run closer to their dial-in than their competitor, they succeed. If they don't, they're done. They get to pack up and head towards Groton. So like I said, we're getting ready. I'd say maybe 4 or 5 minutes away from first cars coming up here to start running the brackets. And if you notice, if you can see, the track towards the end begins to climb in elevation. Looking at it here from at about the 200-foot mark, it looks like there's a slight dip in the track, and then it slowly starts a gradual climb. And after they go through the lights, that climb helps with slowing the cars down. But and one thing that happens that with bracket drags and just kind of amateur drag racing, there's a chance that they can run too fast, and they'll get a little talking to, because there's a certain ET and a certain speed that if you break out of that, you're pretty much required to have a full cage and a parachute. But I don't think we're going to have a problem with that this evening, but we might. So first 2 cars coming up, we've got the in the right-hand lane, we've got the L Amarillo Porsche, and in the left lane, we've got Rob Bowen in the Parts Farm Porsche. So we're going to get everybody ready to go here, and we are just a few seconds away from racing here at Quaker City Motorsports Park. cut a great 386 light. Looks like he's gonna be the faster of the two. 1071 at a 12 at 126, and we got a 1065 in the right lane at 133. So we didn't get any times there. I think we had possible timing malfunction. The Camaro cut a .002 light, but standing here looking at it, I think he may have left a little early. Now we got the Kentucky boys over in the right-hand lane, and Andy Hollis in the GRM Hyundai in the left-hand lane. So you guys having fun yet watching the drags? So we got one of the dad bod car mod Lotuses in the left lane and the Moser 350Z in the right. 1284 for the Lotus at 112 and 1390 for the Z car. So now we got another one of these super quiet Camaros and the El Amarillo Porsche. He's going to do a rerun because they didn't get a time when he and Rob ran earlier together. Camaro turned a great light at 0.119 on the reaction time, 0.751, but the Porsche drove around him with 1050 to 134 and 1233 at 118 for the Camaro. So now we've got, in the left-hand lane, we got the Shelby, Mark and Todd Thompson, against the also ran racing Mini of Hal and Brad Minton. So we got them almost identical reaction times, 412 in the left lane and 409 in the right lane. The Shelby at 1245 at $1.23 and 1546 at 91 for the Mini. Yeah, Dan, first time since 2019 we've done this. So now we got the Trasherita Corvette. I think Bill's at the wheel against the left lane Sleepers BMW. There's going to be a really good run for the Corvette. 1160 at $1.25 and a 1299 at 111 for the BMW.
He's on the right.
Sorry about that. Had to give a little dial-in education. For some reason, everybody comes to me. No, Adam, they do one run for the low ET, and then we go directly into brackets. So we got the Cunning Sports GT3 4-liter in the right lane against MJ in the left lane. This ought to be a really quick run for the Porsche. Had a little problem hooking up there, but not bad. It had a 307 light, and Mark John had a 507 light. What are we going to have here? 1163 at 124 for the Porsche, and a 1331 at 116 for Mark John. So next up, we got Pat Whalen in his Z06 up against Chris Brierly in the Shaky Dog Racing Roto-Rooter Corvette. Chris opting to leave the wing on. Got him in the stage. Pat staged. Chris with a 506 light, Pat with a 796 light, but I think Pat's going to drive around him. A 1213 at 117 and a 1275 at 118 for Chris. So now we got Ross Bentley in the Type R. Ross turned 561 light, the Porsche turned a 1.009 light, but the Porsche is going to drive around him. And a 1224 to 118, Ross with a 1410 at 102. So now we got Dubler in his HHR up against Ray Junkins in the 2002 and a half. Robert staged in there. Waiting on Ray to clip both lights. There we go. Dubler with a 266 light, Ray with a 1.121 light. Looks like Robert a little bit ahead, heading down the track, past the 8th. 1692 for Dubler versus a 1653 for Ray. So we got Grosper in his C8 versus David Carr in the Daytona. Got a feeling we're going to see a very, very low 10-second or possibly sub 10-second run out of the Daytona here. Starter had to back him up a little bit before they rolled the lights. David turned a 318, cut a 318 light with an 815 for Grosper. 1228 against an 1188. David at 116. So now we got Dad Mod Car Bod versus Dad Bod Car Mod. Got two of the Lotuses here. Getting ready to duke it out here. .162 light. So the right-hand lane turned to 1444, and the other is still sitting here. I think they're going to allow him to do a solo pass. So next up, we got wagon versus wagon. We got Neil Simon, looks like Neil Simon in the BMW wagon going up against Chad Lowers in his AMG wagon. Chad cutting a 525 light with the BMW cutting a 794. Chad's keeping it pretty center all the way down the lane. And he runs an 1173 at 116 versus a 1347 at 89. So now we got Steve Loudon in his Viper up against Eric McKay in the Focus RS. Steve had a red light, almost turned a perfect light. He had a negative .006. McKay had a 949 light, 1402 for the Viper at 112 and 1387 at 990. So we got Supra v Super. We got the Forsyth Racing Supra over in the left lane. And got DJ in his Supra over in the right lane. DJ turning a really good 239 light versus a 648. That's probably going to be the difference here. 1207 versus a 1210. 121 for DJ, a 120 for Forsyth. So now we got the PE Motorsports Camry versus Team Rumspringa. Windows up, Dan. So 1255 for Team Rumspringa to 114 versus a 1607 at 91. So now we're getting down to our last couple pair. We got Scott Robertson in that Cardinal. Trying to stage off the back tires versus Brian Maskey and his GR86. Scott turned a 340 light versus an 859. $13.18 for the Cardinal and a $15.77 for the 8.6. And then our last pair for the low ET. We got Rob Bowen doing a rerun. launch of the 247 light, 549 light for the Cardinal. Rob with an 1103 at 128 and 1294 at 110 for the Cardinal. Daryl. 1090. Dial in. I think he can lead better. Well, if you go back to, what was the first one was 10? 1065 or 1071. Okay. If you go back to the 100 tune, I go 10.5. So that concludes the low ET portion, and I believe the Tesla had the fastest ET. They were 997, but I don't remember what I think it was like 133. So in just a few minutes, we're gonna get the brackets going. I am gonna run away and try to find me a quick beverage, and I'll be right back with you guys in just a minute.
stand in to your shot clock open in the block building there. If you're hungry or thirsty, you want to grab a shirt, hat, for the road. Again, we're just touching up the starting line here. Hope you guys get down as best as you can. And we will get the eliminations on the road.
All right, guys, back from getting the beverage. Sorry about that. That was a long walk. So we got Fred dialed in a 12.5. Scott Mattis dialed in a 12.95. Fred red lighted without moving.
Did he run the lights? Did he run light for Fred?
And then he about runs over the staging guy.
World record reaction time. World record reaction time.
World record reaction time.
Okay, I tried bumping him into the second staging lights and he wasn't moving. They went red on him. I told him that dog time that light coming up. He said, all right, I'll just go.
He's going to find a tall bridge and jump off of it tonight just because of what you did to him. I'm kidding.
Fine.
And I know.
No.
Just
So,
fine.
No.
Some of the guys that don't know about the drag race, you only got 10.
He's done it
for years.
Yeah,
Really?
he knows how to do this. That's why I'll never let him work on my feet, or I'll never fly in an airplane with him. Come on, Corey. Get in the lights, Corey. Come on. Get up there, Corey. There you go. So we got Corey Kozar dialed in at 1180, and Bowie dialed in at 1345. So Bowie does get a little bit of advantage on the tree there. Let's see how they end up running. Bowie with a 1342, he broke out by 300s. Corey with a 1211 at 121. So now we got Randy Popes dialed in at a 12.5, and Steve Rossini dialed in at a 15.7. I'm sorry, Jason's doing the drag races, not Randy, but we'll see how they turn out. 16:06 for Steve Rossini, gets the win over the Roush. Our next pair, Got the running on empty Corvette dialed in at a 1220. And the Coolest Brothers dialed in at a 1375. But the right lane gets the win at a 1428 at 103.3 miles an hour. We got Danny Corliss in his M3 versus Tim Curl in his Porsche. Got a 13.3 dial in versus a 1450. $14.97 for Danny. Now $13.51, but the $14.97 takes it. So a 13.5 versus a 13.7 dial in, the Integra. So we'll see if the Hart Racing Integra goes to another round. And he does with a 14.14. The Porsche broke out. He had a 13. So now we got two dads, one Camaro with a 1340 dial in versus the second of the Hart Racing Acuras, also with a 13.4 dial in. This is a little odd. I got a feeling that we're going to see the Camaro either sandbag and lose the round or break out by nearly a second. But we'll see right here in just a second. 13.49 versus a 13.45. The Camaro gets the win. Almost identical, well, had identical dial-ins, but really, really close on the result. We got James Hodges in the left lane in the Killerwell Racing Camaro. And in the right lane, we got the On the Ledge Racing Camaro. 1210 versus a 1290 dial in. James having a little traction issues, getting off the line, all the way up to probably about the 300-foot mark. And the On the Ledge Racing Camaro takes it at a 13.43 at 98 miles an hour versus a 13 flat. So now we got Adam Spence in the HP Tuners Supra, 1220 dial in versus Scott Donahue in the Shadow Buddies Porsche with an 1140 dial in. So Adam's going to get to leave a little early on this one. Like Adam cut a pretty doggone good light. We're going to see if Scott can make up the difference and drive around him. Adam's almost down there, 12.45, and he takes the win. Kentucky boys at a 12.26 dial in versus Tom Freeman in his Supra at a 13.1 dial in. Tom deep staging a little bit, waiting on, there we go. Corvette with a 1264 takes the win over Tom, 1376. So we got a 1240 dial in for the BMW versus a 1260 for the Cardinal. Got them both in the lights, ready to go. And the Cardinal red lights, giving the win to the BMW. So it doesn't matter what the BMW runs, the Cardinal is done for the night. So now we got Josh in the Goodyear Porsche with a 990 dial in versus Amanda Hennessy in her Impala SS with a 15 dial in. So she's going to get to leave about a day and a half early on Josh. We'll see if Josh can drive around her at the end. Amanda cut a really, really good light. We'll see how it ends up on the bottom, up the top end. The 1048 versus a 1515. Amanda takes the win. So now we got a 1030 dial in for the E-Ray versus a 1270 dial in for one of the dad bod car models. 1055 for the E-Ray takes the win. Lotus broke out with a 1248 on a 12.7 dial in. Then we got Wing Grandpas with a 1290 dial in. And the Toyota PE 86 with a 1460 dial in. Getting Wendell all staged up, ready to go. Really good light for the 86. I thought he actually left a little bit early, but the timing lights say no. We'll see how it ends up on the top end. The 86 takes it with a 1476 versus the Wing Grandpa's 1282. Now we got the Moser 370 with a 1390 dial in versus JD with a 1090 dial in. See what kind of results we get here. JD into the lights and starter makes it go. JD with the win, 1201 versus a 1455. Now we got a Pony Car Classic here. We got the number 40 Camaro, Soon Chen and Justin. The 1220 versus Mark Thompson in that Shelby GT350 at a 1250 dial in. And the Camaro takes it with a 1272 at 100 versus a 1249 at 122, but it was a little bit better run. So now we got Porsche versus Porsche. We got Rob in the Parts Farm Porsche with a 1080 dial in versus Ray Guerrero in that other turbo with a 1030 dial in. We'll see what happens here. $10.89 for Rob versus a 1048 for the Al Amarillo Porsche. And then we got the left lane sleepers in the left lane with a 12.4 dial in versus Also Ran Racing. with a 1540 dial in. Oh, and Kevin, red lights. And their night of bracket racing is over with that red light. Brad picks up the win, 1545 at a 90.65. So now we got the BMW wagon with a 1320 dial in versus Kevin Welsh and his Porsche with a 1065 dial in. So Michael's going to get to leave a little early. He almost left too early. We'll see what happens here if Michael can drive around, if Kevin can drive around and take the win. 1062 for Kevin Welsh. He gets to advance 130.66 miles an hour. So we got Chris Brierly in the Shaky Dog Racing Corvette. I believe the Porsche broke out. Yes, he did. So Chris gets the win with a 1390. So now we got our M5 here with a 12.2 dial in versus Steve Loudon and his Viper with a 1350 dial in. The M5 takes it with a 1252 at 112. Next up, Scott Robertson in the Cardinal. He's got a 1310 dial in. Versus an 1190 dial in from the Porsche. The Cardinal takes it with a 1370, 104.2. So now got Chris Mayfield in the Porsche up against Chad Lowers in the Mercedes wagon. Chris dialed in an 1170. Chad dialed in an 1175. There won't be very much delay on the tree. Chris getting a pretty good hole shot there. Sounds like a little sandbagging going on at the top end. 1219 for Chris at 113. He takes the round versus an 1177. Next up, we've got Ross Bentley in the BF Goodrich Honda Type R. He's got a 14 flat dial in up against Mark John Twierweiler with a 1290 dial in. Ross is going to get to leave a little early. See if MJ can drive around him up on the top end, or if they're going to be able to leave early and head towards Groton. Ross takes the lane, the round win with a 1424. Who? What?
Somebody, one of the cars. Which car where? Which car where? Which car where? Which car where?
go-kart track, Brandon. Go-kart track.
Oh, fuck. Never mind.
I thought to myself, put it back in drive. It wasn't happy.
Yeah, there's no indication of breakout.
So next we got the Cunning Stunts GT3 4-liter with an 1150 dial in up against the 2002 with a 1578 dial in. Ray's going to get to leave. Let's see if the little 2002 that can go on to the next round. And he does not. Dave Marcus in that GT3 with a 1208 at 123. This ought to be a good one. Another good one. Got the PE Motorsports Camry with a 1551 dial in versus Pat Whalen with a 15 flat dial in. All right, we got them both in the staging lane. Treat up. And Pat was just a little bit early on the tree, and he breaks out. He red lights.
Left.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. He red lit.
Yeah, but I wanted her to practice it.
So Toyota is teaching sandbagging here on the drag strip this afternoon.
A little bit.
How do you think I won that one time?
We felt sorry.
Good job,
All right, so we got DJ in the Supra up against DeFreeze. I don't know if that's Brian or if that's going to be Eric in the second of the Cardinals. But DJ's already staged, waiting on the Cardinal. 1190 dial in versus a 1260. DJ cutting almost a perfect light there. As long as he doesn't break out. And he doesn't. He gets the round win, a 1225 at 108 versus a 1363 at 102. Now we got Team Rumspringa with a 1259 dial in versus Dubler in the HHR with a 17 flat dial in. So we engaged launch control quite a bit early and had to come out of it. So his reaction time was pretty bad. Let's see if that's going to hurt him on the top end. And it does. That eliminates Rumspringa. Robert Dubler with a 1759 takes the win. So now we got the Forsyth Supra with a 12 flat dial in.
He's got 95 on the window and they got 75 on the tree.
Wrong dial in.
Which car?
got an 1195 versus a 12. This is going to be a and the Dodge takes it with a 1237 versus a 1213. 107 for the Dodge. Now we got Grosper, the 1230 dial in versus the 1570 dial in on the 86. Grosper with an 1186, he breaks out versus a 1590. So we got a solo run now with the third of the Dad Bod Car Mod Lotuses. Like he's in a staging war against himself. He's trying to psych himself out. And as long as he does not break out, he will advance. And I think he's still going to run about a 1510. 1521. So that's round one of brackets.
Hey, Mike.
So now we have cut the field in half. So let's do it again. If both cars break out, Aaron, it's the car that broke out the least that gets to continue on. Same thing with if both cars were to red light. The one that red lights the least gets to continue. But if you break out by yourself, you're the only one to break out, you're done. You're Dunsky. So now we're just waiting on getting the next round to go.
When I went in there to that thing, please just open the doors.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, Brian, we have a car running now, and the question is the drag strip on the way to the next destination, or I think we're going to be too late to participate in anything
Yeah,
today.
we're already in the lane. We're already into the second.
Oh, if you're in the second round of brackets, I couldn't just make up a number and walk in, did you?
Right.
So I think we'll have to skip that. But, is the drag strip en route to where we're going for tonight anyway, or
It's a little bit. It's a little bit out of the way.
a little bit out of the way?
Yeah, by
We'll
about
catch up.
25 minutes.
We'll just catch up with you guys tomorrow then.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, Doc.
Yeah, you know, it might be best to just head on up.
All right. Sorry about that. Had to take a call from one of our competitors that had to get a repair done today, and was unable to join us at the drags. So we've got Morgan in the Smoko Corvette in the right-hand lane versus the Boss 302 in the left-hand lane. We've got an 1150 dial in versus a 1450 dial in. $14.51 versus an $11.96, and the Boss 302 lives to fight another round. Next up, we've got Andy Hollis in the GRM Hyundai Ioniq 5N with an 1110 dial in versus Steve Rossini in the BMW with a 1570 dial in. We're going to see if Autocross Yoda can pull another round win out. And he does. Andy Hollis with an 1119 at 122.18 miles an hour. Now we got Bill in the Trasherita Corvette up against Uncle Howard in his Corvette. Got an 1140 dial in for Bill versus a 12.2 dial in for Uncle Howard. Waiting on Howard to get into the staging beams. Both cars actually got away really good. Let's see how they do on the top end with the difference in the dial in. 1224 for Howard at 105 versus an 1179. Then we got the Coolest Brothers in the right lane in their Corvette versus the On the Ledge Racing Camaro. We've got a 12.9 versus a 1375 dial in. Chris Levitt's, of course, in that Camaro, the On the Ledge Racing. And the Corvette takes it with a 1425 at 104. So now we got Scott Mattis in the Mach 1 Purple People Eater against the Flat 4 Funny Noises. And Scott takes the win in red lit. So a 1330 for Scott. He lifted there at the end just to make sure that he was good and safe. So now we got Danny Corliss in the right lane in his M3 versus Adam Spence in the HP Tuners Supra. 1220 dial in versus a 1450. So Adam gets the win on the red light from Danny. Danny left about a quarter second early there. So a 1264 to 110 flat for Adam. So the Supra moves on to the next round. Now we got Brad Minton in the Also Ran Racing Mini with a 1540 dial in versus the BMW with a 1260 dial in. So Brad with a 1543, almost a dead dial in. Perfect run. 15.4 dial in, runs a 1543. Now we got Rob in the Parks Farm Porsche with his 1075 dial in versus the E-Ray with a 1040 dial in. This ought to be a really And the E-Ray takes it with a 1047 and a $128 versus an 1106 at 121. So now we got the PE86 with a 1460 dial in versus Justin and a Camaro red lights. He is done. And Toyota moves on to another round. So now we got two dads, one Camaro in the right-hand lane with a 1340 dial in versus Amanda in her Impala with a 1494 dial in. Two dads, one Camaro takes the win with a 1379 and 105 versus Amanda with a 15.3 at 94. So next we got JD in the Shadow Buddies late entry motorsports Porsche going up against Scott Robertson in the Cardinal.
I think they're waiting, they're holding these guys off till they get papers. Out of paper.
So Brownie from PE Motorsports says the printer is out of paper up at the end of the track. I think so. Shouldn't take but a couple of minutes. Getting a little chilly here at the drag strip, and I'm wearing shorts. Looks like Brownie's wearing some shorts too.
Your legs are wider than mine. Barely. Gotta get them things out more often.
Yep. Brownie with jokes. I got lots of stories I could tell about Andrew Brownfield, and lots of great pictures I could show too. But I promised that I wouldn't do it unless he wrongs me very badly.
I'd never do that.
I think somebody had to make a quick Office Depot run for some receipt paper to put in the printer up at the timing house.
Gotta dance to keep yourself warm in those shorts, huh?
Yeah, I'm from the South. It's cold.
Where are you from?
South Carolina.
Yeah, you ain't used to this.
Not in May.
Uh-huh. What you got going on there?
That is some high-tech aero right there.
Yep.
Yeah. We're looking at Scott's Cardinal, and they've got a little fin on the left-hand side of the splitter. Appears to be made of cardboard and 200-mile-an-hour tape. Looks like some quality work there, doesn't it, Brownie?
Looks like something some of our guys would do. I have a feeling Toyota Pete Motorsports might have been over there on his car.
You never know. You guys usually show up if anybody has a problem. You guys normally show up to either fix the problem completely or make it worse.
Yep. Either way, we do something.
So pretty soon we're going to have to find a 55-gallon drum and some wood and start a fire. All right, so it looks like we're back to live action. We got JD in that Shadow Buddies Porsche versus Scott Robertson in the Cardinal. 1310 dial in for Scott and a 1090 dial in for JD. Waiting on JD to get in the lights good. There we go. Both cars get away very nicely. Like JD's driving around him on the top end, but let's see if it is enough. JD with the round win, an 1142 at 106 versus a 1365 at 105. Now we got the Kentucky boys with their 1240 dial in going up against Kevin Welsh with a 1050 dial in. Kentucky boys changed their dial in just a little bit from the last round. And Kevin Welsh breaks out with a red light. Kentucky boys with the round win. The 1259 at 117. So they move on to the next round. Now we got a Dad Bod Car Mod Lotus in the right-hand lane with a 1420 dial in versus Chris Brierly in the Shaky Dog Racing Corvette with a 1265 dial in. Waiting on Chris to get in the light. There we are. Lotus is going to leave a little bit early. And Chris with the red light, giving the win to the Lotus. I think he knew it as soon as he left that he tripped the red light. So next we got a little battle of the Germans here. We've got Chris Mayfield in the Porsche versus the M5. 1220 dial in for the M5 and an 1170 dial in for Chris. a hole shot and almost cutting a perfect light. Let's see if he, yep, 1240 at 88 versus a 1263 at 125, but he takes the win. So now we got Ross Bentley, the 1410 dial-in on the Type R, versus DJ in the Supra with an 1185. DJ using that Pro Solo skill to hit these trees just perfect. Waiting on Ross to trip that second staging light. I think DJ may have, oh, I thought DJ left a little early there and may have tripped the red light. Let's see what happens on the top end. DJ hitting the brakes a little bit. And he gets the win with a 1282 at 98 versus a 1499 at 98 for Ross. Now we got Dave in the Cunning Stunts Porsche with an 1190 dial-in versus David Carr in the Daytona with an 1195.
Turn your phone silent.
So launch control didn't work well for the Porsche.
Something happened with the traction, or the he was trying something new and
So David Carr in the Dodge takes the win. Now we got the PE Camry with a 1508 dial-in versus Dubler with a 17 flat dial-in.
She knows they're leaving before her.
Don't break out. Get the win light.
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
Toyota takes it with a 1537. So now we got Chad Gilsinger in the Type R from Hart, 1390 dial-in versus the Dad Bod Car Mod Lotus. I think that's Dad Bod Car Mod number 1, 1490 dial-in. We'll see who's going to get the win here. The Lotus takes it with a 1501 versus a 1416. So now we got the 8.6 Brian Maskery running a solo run. Got a 1570 dial-in. All he's got to do is not break out, and he moves on to the next round. All he's got to do is just lollygag on down, and he will be golden. And he runs a 1605. So that's another round of brackets done. We've cut the field in half again. So we just got a couple of minutes before we get ready for the next round.
But yeah, you see that you've actually win.
Reg, if I was at Road America right now, I'd be enjoying some funnel fries or one of their great burgers.
This is all who's left, right? Yeah. So a lot of the fancy cars are gone.
Is that cold?
Not too bad. I get worse from Brownie. Puts his hands in the icebox and puts them on me.
Right.
A lot of green up there.
Yeah. Camera's up there though. See?
Mike's right there, though.
Yeah. But it can't pick you guys up, really.
Just picks right there where you go out.
My name's Matt Cristero.
He's here somewhere. Oh, I've been standing over here talking to him for a while. Him and Tom.
So I think we're down to about 18 or 19 cars now. So this first matchup, we've got Andy Hollis in the GRM Hyundai Ioniq Q or Ioniq 5N versus the Boss 302. Getting ready for them to roll up. Andy with an 1110 dial in versus a 1450 dial in for the Boss 302. Yes, Reg, you are correct. I would not be in shorts. Oh, Andy red lights. He done. Boss 302 is going to get the win. Andy left just a little bit early, causing that red light to shine, and his day is done. So now we got Zakulis Brothers and their Corvette versus Uncle Howard. Got a 1375 dial in for the Zakulis Brothers versus a 1220 for Uncle Howard in his C8. Howard getting up to the staging lights, and he's in them. Uncle Howard with the round win, running a 1230 at 93. Now we got the E-Ray in the left lane at a 1035 dial in up against Scott Mattis with a 1295 dial in. So Scott's going to get to leave a little early, see what the E-Ray can do. He can drive around Scott. So he's around Scott, but let's see if he breaks out. 1050, he does get the round win. He sandbagged and hit the brakes there a little bit at the end just to save him. So now we got Brad Minton in the Also Ran Racing Mini up against Adam Spence in the HP Tuners Supra. And if he ends up winning, I'm taking all the credit. Brad away. Adam away, getting a low. He got really sideways. That may hurt him on the top end. We'll see what happens. Brad with a 1547 against the 1420. Adam is done for the night. The Mini moves on. Now we got the Toyota PE Motorsports 8.6 with a 1460 dial in versus the two dads of one Camaro with a 1340 dial in. It looked like the 8.6 left a little bit early, but I guess not. Let's see if he can keep it out in front of the Camaro up on the top end. 1466, the 8.6 gets the round win. They move on. Next, Chris Mayfield in the GT4 RS up against JD in the Shadow Buddies Porsche. A 1090 dial in for JD. And JD red lights. He's done. Chris is moving on to the next round. I don't even think JD saw the red light. So 1189 for Chris at 124. He moves on. So we got another pair of Lotuses going up against each other. We've got Dad Bod Car Mod number 3 in the right lane versus Dad Bod Car Mod number 1 in the left lane. 1490 dial in for the left, 1420 dial in for the right. The right lane gets the win with a 1447 and 88. Here comes DJ in the Supra with an 1185 dial in versus the Camry with a 1518 dial in. DJ's been cutting almost perfect lights tonight because of his SCCA Pro Solo experience. Toyota getting up into the staging lights. Needs to come forward a little bit more. Bump forward, a little more, there you go. They're going to get to leave quite a bit early. Oh, I think they just read, oh. So DJ cut a really good light. The Camry cut even a better light, but let's see who gets it at the end. DJ moves on with a 1237 at 121. Now we got Kentucky boys, 1249 dial in. They changed their dial in again over this round versus a 1570 for Brian and his 8.6. And the Kentucky boys get the win with a 1257 at 117 versus a 1579 at 85. And David Carr gets to go all by himself. So as long as he doesn't break out or red light, he gets to move on. David with the Daytona with an 1195 dial in. A little more forward, there you go. Didn't have the speakers on the exhaust that time.